jumped the shark. You can stop that now.
Wait, Jeopardy jumped the shark?
It is. We now know who the best is ever.
Ah.
Just play the song.
We're not going to start an argument about television?
No, not today.
Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of Lemma-Champ or Lucky Track dog you run, SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate, as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, news and notes from the world of low-dollar endurance racing, and whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough, and the guest gives us just the tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris. Chrissy's late. She'll be
here
later. Yep.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Mental. Thanks so much for coming and listening back to another Volvo Amazon episode of Everyone Racers. It's episode 122. If you're not driving a car, bust out that bingo card. We haven't updated it.
It's okay.
But, you know, it took us like 50 episodes just to get it. So, yeah, it'll happen.
Yeah, someday.
It's going to be funny one day when I actually update it.
Absolutely it is.
I mean, it's funny now.
It is. We know what we're not working on, which is the bingo card. Let's talk about what we are working on. Chris?
Well, I felt pretty proud of myself in that I diagnosed and repaired the dryer the same day. It wasn't producing any heat. It was spinning. I said, I don't know. How do it work? Turns out these things aren't that complicated. It's like four sheet metal sides, all zipped, like sheet metal screwed together. There's a big drum in the middle that just has like a three-rib belt around it, like a tiny little three-rib belt that goes to a motor and then has a tensioner, and that's all that spins the thing, really. And there's some rollers that hold it up. There's a duct that sucks the air in and out, and then there's actually just a flame tube that the gas fire goes on that makes heat. Just open flame, and it's amazing how dusty it was inside the dryer next to open flames. I don't know how we didn't spontaneously combust, but thanks to went on Repair Clinic online, which is a great site for appliance repairs. I got all kinds of stuff there in the past with our janky things we've bought. Anyway, turned out to be a thermal fuse. That was it. It would have been $8 if I bought it online, but hey, the local parts store had one. Let's support local and get it today, and that was $17. But hey, it works. It's back together. It's clean. Everything's nice. It's better than when I started. We're not on fire. Our clothes are dry. I felt good about that.
Where
there's no way you put it back together and did not clean every aspect of that.
Of course I did.
Where did you have to go to get a thermal switch for a dryer?
There's an appliance store that does sales and repair and service and everything and parts in Exeter, Pennsylvania. So nearby, went out in the snow, got that. It was great.
I wouldn't have known where to find an appliance repair place in my local vicinity, so I'm sure there's one.
There's a thing called the internet. It's a series of tubes.
Google's will bring it to you.
Yeah, it's a series of tubes, and it'll tell you, and there you go. Did some more painting around the house. That's going fine. Did some snow removal because it snowed some.
Snow removal.
Yep.
Whatever.
Your car actually was in the snow for the first time, really. So, I did try some iRacing like for a long time, an actual race, and I got my ass handed to me by Uncle Dave and his friend. That was nice. Thanks, guys. Lime Rock and Solstices. So the Solstices are much easier than the Miata. That's for sure.
Less roof time?
Yes. Much less time on my roof. That was good.
I noticed from the picture that you posted on our inner social web thing that you had the only beige, fleshy toned Solstice.
Yes.
Everybody else's Solstice didn't look like a penis. I was disappointed.
Well, yes, mine was flesh toned with a black top and red bits on the sides by the back wheels. I thought it was just right, and it was number 42. Dave did what he should do. He had an orange car. Dave had an orange car, number 71. Fits him fine.
All right, that's acceptable.
Right. The other guy had a black car, number 32. That was boring. But, I like my flesh tone Solstice. It's great. And I waved goodbye to the Mercedes and was amazed that they were able to drive it up onto the 3-car hauler up the ramps in the snow and not have it slide off the side because somehow 500 horsepower and Michelin pilots and snow and ramps didn't seem like a good idea. But hey, they're care, custody, and control, and they did okay. Tied it down and left. So
electric limited slip, I'm going to say.
For our guest who's at the podcast, I want to show him a picture of our actual flesh-colored Solstice so
That's
that he
better-
could...
That's better than what I had in mind.
Yeah. What you had in mind is probably what we were shooting for when they built
Yeah,
it.
it's true.
pretty much.
So, how closely did they inspect the Mercedes?
Well, it was snowing. The guy kind of
Like, did
tried
the guy
to
really...
brush some snow off the fender and was like, I don't know. That was it. I had cleaned it off fairly well before then, but frankly, the car had like 3 dents in it total and 1 scrape. And oh well, whatever.
Because
See
it's
what
getting
happens.
Vicky's probably going to be the one that receives it when it gets here, and I don't know if that guy's fully prepared for her level of attention.
Does she know that there are a couple dents in it? It's just
She does. I've had to brief her. Yes.
Okay, good. Oh, she can call me if necessary. Anyway, so that was it. Jeff, what have you been doing?
So I don't know if you just heard, but I've been coughing my guts out. It seems that I gathered, I have contracted the crud, the sniffles, and
Is it the coronavirus? Because I'm worried about I'm going to get it to my computer.
No, I don't drink Mexican beer, so I don't think it's the coronavirus.
Yeah.
No. I believe my doctor says you probably had the flu, but now it's bronchitis. So I can be expecting to cough for a very long time.
Are you still going to work or are you staying home?
Oh, of course I went to work.
All right.
Screw all those people. I can't be Typhoid Mary and not go to work.
No, I actually went to Boy Scout camp.
Oh, good. Let's infect the children. That's good.
In the throes of the fever. I didn't realize how
Turnabout's
sick
fair
I
play.
was.
They always get us sick, so
I'm
kids.
Sure
I'll teach that kid to puke in the back of my truck.
seriously, he was there. I should have coughed on him. What happened basically was Friday, I wasn't feeling well. So I said, well, I can't get sick because I got Boy Scout camp and then it's the opening of the semester. So I better stay home and just pack and take it easy. So I stayed home and I packed and I took it easy. And then I went to camp, and at approximately 11 p.m. or 12 p.m. when I was going to bed midnight, I got into my sleeping bag and I started shivering so badly. And this is an indoor cabin, 72-degree room. And I'm going, I might be sick. I'm not sure. So for 2.5 hours, I ached. I spot 2 days. Excuse me. I couldn't get any sleep. All of my joints ached. I still did a 3-mile hike. I still managed not to cough any lungs up. I still did everything I needed to do because I'm a Boy Scout leader, and like 6 parents were counting on me to make sure their kids didn't get beat up by the bigger kids.
Is your arm hurt from patting yourself on the back so much there? That was
no.
Yeah, okay.
No, it hurts from hitting the kids.
Oh, okay, good.
I honestly, I feel like the problem, it wasn't so much that he was sick as that he didn't have enough purple drink.
No, the problem is that like once you get in the truck and go, there's no turning back. Like
Pat, feel free to comment. You don't have to be quiet during this. It's fine.
Screw you kids, I'm leaving.
I'm sitting back here learning. That's what I'm doing.
Damn it. So anyway, yeah, that's what I did. And then on Monday, because I was still forced to work, I went to work and I ran a service day for 1,000 students.
20 of whom are now hospitalized with
probably
bronchitis.
Actually, I stayed away from them pretty well, except my student staff. So they're probably the ones that got sick.
Good.
Yeah.
The ones you actually like.
It's terrible, but it's no, don't get sick, everybody. Get your flu shot.
All right.
That's it. Mental, what are you working on?
Bought a car this week. So I thought that'll take care of. This past weekend I was at Button Willow for the Vintage Auto Racing Associating training weekend. They call it Vera University. Chris, you'd be very impressed. It is not quite to the level of Great Lakes, but darn close. When the noobs come off the track, they immediately shepherd them through the pits and take them over to either a threshold braking exercise. They had them do a walkthrough of the karting track so they could learn to analyze corners and various inputs on that one. A lot of really high-end exercises. Everyone got a red flag exercise. Every run group got a red flag exercise over the weekend. And what was actually really impressive, they had an abundance of instructors. The groups would go out, and there'd still be instructors sitting on the wall with no students to take out.
Now, did you have the same student the weekend or the day, or was it round robin, whoever's car you felt like getting in?
I was there specifically to help one student, and really he had the basics down. It was just one of those situations where he just needed seat time. So then I ended up with another student. He's really close to getting signed off for his license, and they just wanted a third one to ride around with him to make sure that they weren't seeing things. That was fun because he had a Crown Victoria. So we drove around the track at a Crown Vic, and I kind of looked at the only thing. Car. Yeah, the only thing I could really say is you could brake a little bit later, but I understand exactly why you're getting on those brakes soft and early, so you don't overheat them with a 4,300-pound car. And he kind of nodded and said, "Yeah, that's on purpose." And of course, when I got out of the car, I had to make the joke about, I've never ridden in the front seat before. Kind of fun. And it was brace myself on the armrest and then brace myself against the door and then brace myself on the armrest. Insane amount of fun taking a Crown Vic on a track.
Yeah, I was going to say 3-point belt bench seat.
Velour bench seat. It was nice. So
is it a police package?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Calibrated speedometer, the whole 9 yards.
That's awesome. I drove, my uncle had an '08. I drove an '08 at Little Talladega in Alabama. And
oh my God.
Yeah, we put an old set of Hoosier R6 slicks on it, and
that might change the handling characteristics just a bit.
Well, the tires weren't great. Let me be clear. They were old, but if it had a 5-speed in it, man, that car was pretty cool. It was good.
In Little Talladega, that's a very narrow track. There's usually a motorcycle track.
There's a lot of trees there. Yeah, a lot of trees very close. And a corn.
Yeah. So I changed out the pool light. That was fun because the water was 40 degrees. But we now have a lit pool again. While you guys are doing your snow removal, that's what I was doing. I was changing out my pool light and then making sure the balance was good in my hot tub. And I'm headed to Chicago this weekend for Extreme Experience training. Their annual safety training / holiday party.
Listeners, that after bingo card.
Yeah. Listeners, you've already noticed a brand new voice this week. Our guest is the non-finger quotes real racer, Patrick Wilmot. Pat, what you working on?
I'm working on buying my parents' house. It's the exciting news in the racing world for me. So I'm working on that, and we're actually selling a whole bunch of my dad's old collectibles, racing collectibles, and automotive collectibles on eBay. So my days have consisted of sitting at the house and taking pictures and posting things on eBay lately. It's really, really exciting.
Well, hey, text us that link. We'll make sure it goes in the show notes if you got your eBay store set up. Because
yeah, for sure.
We probably have some Mustang enthusiast listeners.
I was going to say, I definitely see some stuff on the wall behind Pat that I'm like, ooh, I would like to see that closer.
That poster is actually worth around $250 to $300, and we got 3 or 4 of them here at the house. So he's had some good collectibles over the years. But yeah, I mean, other than that, we're working on an LMP3 deal that should hopefully come together at the end of the year, or maybe for the start of next year. That's really all I've been doing.
Cool,
awesome.
Yeah, listing stuff on eBay is total drudgery, but then it's fun when it sells, though, especially when you sell us and you're surprised by it. Like, yeah, I listed a whole bunch of stuff for the 300ZX race car we had, and it was months ago, and then the other day, suddenly someone bought the passenger seat slider for $40, and I was like, "What? It's fantastic!" And I was so excited that I sold it. So, anyway, the big thing that I found today, and I didn't actually, this isn't me selling it, but I actually found a 1987 NASCAR Winston Cup picture. So you might have heard the Dinner with Racers
their Amazon Prime video talking about the poster that went out in 1987 of Tim Richmond. I don't know if you might have seen that video yet or not, but anyway, so there's a big to-do over the 1987 Winston at Charlotte poster because Tim Richmond apparently pulled something out behind Neil Bonnet's ear and for the original picture, and I
have heard this story.
Yeah. So it made it into print, and they didn't catch it right away. So a bunch of fans and other people ended up with the original print before it got censored. Well, I found today, and I love Tim Richmond. I think the guy was awesome. You know, I thought if he hadn't died, I thought he was going to be, you know, obviously I wasn't around really to live through the experience, but because I was like 1 year old when he died. But I think that he was like the perfect thing that NASCAR needed at the time. But these posters got censored finally. But if you can find one that is uncensored, they're pretty special. And I found a clock today. It's a wood grain clock that is the actual picture. And I guess this guy just didn't know what he had. Because the other clocks are going for $250 to $300, and I bought it for $60. So,
oh, nice
score!
Yeah, I'm making a bar and you know, man cave upstairs, so it's going upstairs.
Nice,
very cool.
And we have just been joined by our ever-present safety representative, Chrissy.
Hi, sorry about that. Here I am.
What you working on?
Oh, what I'm working on. So is that the segment that I just jumped in on? That's
We're
awesome.
just at the very end of it. Perfect timing.
Fantastic. So I am joining you from beautiful Atlanta. I am in Stockbridge. And is that where you're from?
I'm in Roswell. Mm-hmm.
Oh, great. Well, I'm lovely hotel. And I am working I'm a regional training center, which is normally what I've been working on. I'm here with a bunch of actually safety guys, and they are all trying to make this center ready to go for classes in 2 weeks. So a lot of work needs to be done. We're trenching tomorrow. We are installing appliances and putting tables together and all that good stuff. So I'm here, just got here today for that, and I'm here till Friday, and then I scramble home and more stuff going on. Now it's time for everybody's favorite game, Guess the Rental.
All right, give us some particulars.
Oh, everybody's quiet here.
Oh, wait, I have a new way that we can play this game.
Okay.
All right, you give us your impressions of the vehicle. Like,
what does that mean?
Like you could say like
wrong.
It's terrible. I hate it. I had no choice.
And I will say
it was
Nissan
this or
Versa.
So just my feelings about it.
Like yeah. Like I picked good because blah blah and
Sure.
blah.
Okay, I have my answer. It's very very easy. I thought it was going to be better.
Oh.
Okay.
All right, and then give us the general sedan, truck, compact, subcompact.
Well, I'll tell you what I needed it for. Unlike last time, I needed to move stuff, big stuff. So we went caravan. That's the last time I was moving stuff. This time I parked in a parking lot with 5 matching F-150s, all white. One of them may have had a rollaway cab instead of the whatever. So they were all the same trucks. So I have plenty of people to move stuff that I don't need to. And Chris doesn't know because I didn't tell him.
No. I'm going to say Challenger.
Are we going to? Is everybody going to guess, or do I just?
No, we're all going to guess.
Okay.
We're all going to guess.
I feel like it's an SUV still, just because you were tucked in with F-150s.
No, that's the people at her work all have F-150s, so she didn't need an F-150.
Oh, crap.
Unlike last time when I needed to move appliances and stuff, yes, I apologize. Thank you for clarifying.
I'm definitely vibing Chrysler product, but I'm saying Pacifica.
What's on this one? Go, come back to me. Come back.
I was going to say the Dodge Caravan, but you said you already had one. Right?
I had one of those last time, and I actually really liked it. I moved a refrigerator and a water heater. I moved them back and forth, so it was awesome. The lowest people were like, "It's not going to fit." I was like, "Oh, it's going to fit," and it did. Mental.
Come on, Mental.
Did really you think that I would have thought a
Chrysler
Pacifica was going to be good? What did you say?
No.
What did you say, Mental?
I thought you were going to get into
300.
Pacifica and think like, oh, it's like a Caravan, but not nearly as good. And then you get in it and you realize it isn't even close to as good as a Caravan.
You all are wrong. It's a Camry.
Ooh.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. So, because I don't need to move anything, I'm in a sedan, and I was like, oh, okay, you know, like I'm done with Nissans, and I didn't need anything to move things. I had a bunch of Caravans. I could have taken I guess I could have taken a Challenger. I think there was one just rolled in.
Stockbridge camouflage. They're like you could knock over a liquor store, jump in that Camry, and they never
I think
catch you.
Mine is silver too, which I think
think
all
that.
of them are.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was like, oh, okay, you know, a sedan that's not too big of a deal, and even just a base model, because we've had Toyotas in the family. I guess not really lately.
We rented a Camry when we were out in Sacramento that time, and I went bombing all through the woods and mountains around Tahoe and everything with it. And it was okay. You know.
I feel like it's really pretty boring. It's I don't know. I haven't driven it too much yet, but I'm not really impressed so far.
Well, who do we have on the show that talked so much about the new Camry? Was it Brian Medford, who talked about how the new Camry was so much better than the past?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I was with him on that one.
Huh.
Okay.
I mean, it's no AMG Mercedes, but
Well,
you know.
yeah,
it's not. Which hopefully it makes it from one state to the other. But yes, so that's my Camry, and so that's what I'm up to. Thanks for playing the game.
It's still a rental car, so it's still the fastest car you've ever driven, right?
Off-road.
Off-road. No, I haven't done that yet. But I should.
But hey,
and
you might know
jumps the
somebody.
highest, too.
You might know somebody that'll let that thing on a track up at Atlanta Motorsports Park while you're in town.
I mean, if I had time, I would,
Yes.
but I don't. That's very sad. I wish I did.
All right.
All right.
Well, it is news and notes time as we move forward with the news of the week. Who's starting, Chris?
Sure.
Or
So on
Mental.
his Twitter, Tanner
Or
Faust.
mental, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Tanner Faust posted a picture of himself, Rutledge Wood, and Adam Ferreira, a.k.a. the original cast of the American Top Gear, with the concept of, would you listen to a podcast of these three idiots telling stories behind the scenes of Top Gear episodes? There might be alcohol involved. Which, if I'm honest, except for the subject matter, sounds like a total ripoff on this podcast.
I was going to say, three idiots. I listen to that podcast every week.
Yeah. I would still listen to it. And if you would, feel free to let any of them know, because all three of them reposted it. And we got the link to that in our show notes.
all right.
All right.
The new Supra, it's heavy on the hype and the price, and we all know it's a Z4 with a new outfit. But it really is a good chassis and performs well. So it's so good, in fact, that last year Morgan Motor Company of England announced that they were doing away with their wooden framed cars. Not kidding, still make that.
Handmade wooden framed.
Yeah, of course. Well, it's the parts falling off are of the finest British craftsmanship. So they announced their new Plus 6 would be based on the same setup. So they are also just taking a BMW, putting something else on it. And Morgan has used BMW stuff in the past, like the Aero 8 had a 4.4 liter V8, for example. So they announced their Plus 6 configurator. You can build your proper English sports car online if the website works. If it doesn't give you an oil spill option, then that's not right. So the team over at Haggerty invited their readers to configure their new old British Roadster and post results. And hey, you might as well do the same and post it up for us. Then you can look at how expensive it is and realize you're not going to buy one. And you should just buy my MGA instead when it hits Springer Trailer this year for the authentic British car experience and smell. British cars just have this smell that it's not bad, but it's not good either.
It's also been sitting in a garage for a while.
Its whole life,
the
pretty
smell.
much.
Musty,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, someday we'll have to decide whose MG has been sitting around longer, my father's TD or your A.
Mine, I drove it to work a couple of years ago. Like I drove it around a bunch.
Then my father's sitting way longer.
About that time when you drove it and you started to drive away, and then the water jumped out at the end of the garage, and you're like, "Well, not taking that. Drive it back into the garage."
Yeah, the heater valve broke.
That is the British car experience right there.
At least it was still at the end. And we did it with your mom's too. We took your mom, TD. We're going to take it to the next state over.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And then it didn't make it to the end of the street, and we turned and we're like, "Well, guess we're taking that home."
Yeah.
So yeah, we're good with those.
Yeah.
It's just part of the lifestyle. It's something you accept. And
my father sheared an axle getting ice cream like 3 blocks from the house, and I swear it had nothing to do with me flat shifting it on the prom when I had it, which was several weeks before.
And you're still going
they
28 after flash shifting.
It's true. It's 12, if that. So what does a British car smell like? I want to get back to this because I want to try and describe it. I have it imprinted in my memory. It's like leather, but not like leather that's been turned into clothes. It's like leather that's still on the hoof.
Now, old leather furniture is what it smells like.
Yeah. It's a bit like hay, leather,
and burning oil,
and dripping oil. Mine doesn't burn because it doesn't.
Once it
smell.
drips,
definitely
okay.
like not a musty as in like disgusting, but definitely like a quality mushroom.
A country
must
cottage
to a British car.
It's a country cottage. That's what it is.
You're not selling any. You're not selling anyone on
This is
what
all British
that they
cars.
should buy.
This is what they smell like.
Oh no! Every British enthusiast listening to the show is going, "Oh my God, they know." They know so
exactly.
well.
Now they know we're not lying. Listen to this. It's very important news and notes. Happy birthday to the second best East Coast Lemons racer, Amanda Tully.
I bet she doesn't listen to this show.
She's
Yes,
too smart
but
for that.
Probably why
100
she's so
people
fast.
are going to put it on her Facebook. So
I already did. So there.
All right.
That's it. That's news and notes.
Yeah.
Upcoming races.
It's wintertime. Nothing.
There's none.
Uh-huh.
It's winter. So
So this
Santiago,
weekend-
right?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
about to say. This weekend, rally correspondent Santiago will be running the Snowdrift Rally. Other than that, we have no races on the schedule. None.
First weekend of February.
Yep.
Last week, none.
Okay.
Listener feedback time.
Okay. A few weeks back, the kind crew at Race Bar posted on our Facebook page. I know it's a bit late, but I wanted to thank everyone racers for the NHMS Race Recap podcast, as well as thank them for their generous Baby Shark appreciation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it was generous. I think everybody. I don't know about generous, but
I thought I actually told them that they owe me royalties for stealing the Baby Shark
Not
stuff.
you. They don't owe you
Oh.
anything.
Oh, no, it's true. Fantastic Shark. They owe me
Oh.
royalties. Somebody
Yes,
owes
they
me
do.
some royalties for this.
So, and just today I received listener feedback from Eric K, 914 lover. He said he was listening to our show at Arrive and Drives from the perspective of an Arrive and Driver, and was trying to think as we were starting the show, like, all right, what did he need to do when he first showed up? What did he learn to do over time? What does he learn? What would he tell himself? And he said he was happy to say we got every last thing that he was thinking of as part of our show. So we did something okay. That's news. Great job,
That
everybody.
explains why Eric fits in so well.
Right.
It's okay. I'm glad we did something okay. It's like the TV commercial.
Yeah.
You want your surgeon to be just okay?
Yep. And you know who else thinks we were just okay? Chrissy's mom.
Hi, Chrissy's mom.
Hi,
Hi,
Chrissy's mom. Not you, honey. She likes you. But the rest of us, we're just okay.
Yeah.
no, not true. Also, I actually just talking to her. She just got back from the dentist and had a cavity under a cap fixed.
Oh.
No fun.
Oh.
Yeah, no.
Feel better soon, Chrissy's mom.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's rough. Anyway, let's move on. It's time for the main topic. We have a lot of time for the main topic this week. Well, not really, because we just have as much time as we want any week. But I'm saying we saved a special show to bring on a quote real racer because I don't know. It's a special show. Yes, special show.
Yeah. Totally.
So, Mental, do you want to do the intros? Because you know Patrick well more than we do.
Yes. He is a fellow Atlanta area gearhead. We have run in similar circles, and by run in similar circles, he laps me about 14 times. We did the Simcraft 24 Hours of Orlando karting event. He works at Atlanta Motorsports Park. We've taught some of the same classes. Before I start to embarrass you, so this is Patrick Wilmot, professional racer, and again, not finger quotes. He does this for a living. But Pat, you can give us a brief bio.
Yeah, sure. So I grew up around the sport. My dad vintage raced in HSR and SVRA. And so ever since the time I was about a day old until now, I've grown up around the sport and started in go-karts when I was 16. So I got a little bit of a late start and actually started in a indoor karting league is how I got going in all this. So starting go-karts, moved up into SCCA when I was 19. And from there, just kind of one thing led to another. Had the great idea to leave school and become a professional race car driver, in college. Who needs one of those degrees? And so I left school at 22 and tried to make it as a professional driver. And fortunately, it's worked out pretty well so far. But I will say I don't really call myself a professional race car driver anymore. I call myself a professional coach. So I found myself in the line of coaching as full time when I was 27 years old, and I'm about to be 31 now. So more importantly, on your side, I started with Skip Barber when I was 23, so that was 2012, and so I professionally, I guess you could say, started coaching then. So I've been in the game for a while, and as the years have gone by, I've been fortunate to race in World Challenge and the MX5 Cup, and I ran at Petit Le Mans in 2018, and so here I am now with you guys. So I'm happy to be here.
On slippery slope down there, that's for sure.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
No, it's funny because you guys kind of catch me in a transitional period in my career. It's gone from really hustling hard and trying to make it work, and now it's kind of like I just want to get back to having fun. So it's interesting.
So you said that you listed some you listed some specific races there, like you did Petit Le Mans. You were with MX5 Cup for a while. Were you driver for hire? Were you a team owner? What was your I guess driver slash, because everyone's a driver slash.
Sure. Yeah. So
actor slash director.
Yeah. So I originally, the way that I got my ride with World Challenge was something that never happens. I literally got approached by one of my good friends, and one of his good friends said that he wanted to start a race team, and he had already bought a car, and he said he wanted a driver. He wanted somebody that was capable of winning. And my buddy said, "Hey, I know a guy." And so this was November of 2015, and I got this phone call, and he said, he wants to go racing in TCB class, which was, super slow Mini Coopers and Honda Fits and that kind of thing in World Challenge. I was like, I want to go pro racing, so let's do it.
How competitive was that? Because I've been lucky enough to kind of catch some of that on like the obscure sports channels, and it looks like this is legit door to door. They're not going very fast, but kind of a one mistake and sorry, buddy, you're out of the contention.
Yeah, so it's typical momentum racing. The only problem we had was BOP was still very prevalent, so balance of power was still very prevalent. And so when we showed up for the first race, and let me be clear, the car that I was driving was not a great car. This was a car that we had later found out had been in a rollover crash and then turned into a race car. The
par for the course for us, but not for a professional series.
Yeah. This didn't start as a body in white or sealed.
I've never had the privilege of being in that group. So this was pretty par for the course for me too. So, but it was pro racing and I wanted, it was a shot. So the car had a bunch of problems, and the biggest problem was that the Mini Cooper did really, really well in the previous years in the TCB class, and so they just killed it with the restrictor plate. And we went to COTA for the first race, and I'll tell you, this was incredible. We literally, my two of my best friends, Tyler Hoffman and Trevor Andrusko, built this car in a day. I mean, we found so much stuff wrong with it when we actually got to COTA. And these two guys, my buddy Chris Lima, they went all in. They built it in a day. We made tech inspection on Thursday after missing the test day at 5:30 when tech inspection closed at 5, and they let us race. It was incredible. So, I mean, it like makes me choke up thinking about it right now because it was awesome. So,
and Trevor and Tyler are legitimately great people.
Yeah, they really are. And so, so we made the race. We go out for practice, and we're 9 miles an hour too slow on the straightaway. I mean, like, and you think about how long the straightaway is, that back straightaway is.
It's 1 solid kilometer.
It was awful. So we were like a solid 6 seconds off. I mean, it was really bad. So the outing was terrible. And so we started complaining to SCCA to change the BOP, give some power, all that kind of stuff. Well, if anybody that's listening has dealt with SCCA, they know it takes, a year and a half to get anything changed. And so we went through the whole year basically with this car that it had no power. It was great through the corners. We set it up really well. And it was really interesting. World Challenge actually put out my in-car video on YouTube at Road America. And people just started commenting, like, what is wrong with, like, what is going on here? And
why doesn't it go?
Yeah, I passed the same car. Literally, I passed the same Honda Fit like 5 times in this race. And they're like, what? Are you kidding me? And so it was really funny because a week later, World Challenge came back and SCCA came back and they're like, hey, we're going to give you some power right after that video came out. Well, by that point, our team owner had run out of money, and so we didn't get to finish the rest of the year. So the long answer there is I got really lucky for the first one, in 2016 to go pro racing. 2017 came along. I raced with a team called GB Racing / Racing Analytics here out of Atlanta. And I was basically a data point to my teammate. And that teammate just happened to be my girlfriend at the time, and her dad owned the race cars. So I found my way in another ride right there. And I basically approached her dad and said, I think I could be of service to her and to the team and make the team better and make her better. And would you give me a shot to drive the backup car? And so that's how I ended up with my ride in 2017.
Nice.
Got it. So your original team was, it was starting a team, which is probably a great indication that they aren't fully prepared.
Yeah, so we had a rule made after us in World Challenge now that
usually means you've done something well.
Yeah. you must show up to the track with an enclosed trailer with decals on it. So
even I have that.
You don't have any decals.
Are you kidding? That's
no,
real?
This is real. 2017 rule book came out and said, hey, you must show up with a trailer with decals and it must be enclosed due to presentation. You got to look presentable because we showed up to every race in 2016 on a U-Haul dolly.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say that.
Nice.
And
Nothing says classic U-Haul.
Borrowed 2500 truck. So they were literally like, hey, you can't do this anymore. So that was pretty cool.
So bougie. Come on.
We had 2 top 5s. That's all we can say.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're making this look a little too approachable there. We need to be a little bit snottier.
Yeah, so second ride was also World Challenge.
Second ride was the MX5 Cup, Global MX5 Cup, and we followed IndyCar, which was incredible. Yeah. So that was my first like real shot at trying to perform well. So we showed up. We showed up in March to the test in March at Barber, and I was the fastest in one of the test sessions, which is really cool because it was mainly a bunch of actual professional drivers like Stephen McAleer and Andrew Carbonell and those kind of guys that have been around the sport a long time. And I ended up P1 in that, so it kind of gave us some hope. And then the season started and just went to hell really, really quick. And we had like 5 mechanical failures, I think, throughout the year. I mean, crazy stuff, engines blowing up and that kind of stuff. And so it just clearly was not meant to be.
Yeah. Huh. Well, awesome. And you said the state of your career now is mostly coaching, and I'm interested. You mentioned that, you know, like there seems to be like a fuzzy line between full-time driving, part-time driving, professional driving. Like, how many times in your career has this pendulum gone from full-time professional racer to part-time and part-time coach, full-time coach? You know, like how do you deal with that swing through your career?
So, question. Sure. So I think to lead it off, you know, nowadays the term professional driver has really been tarnished, and I'm not by gentlemen drivers per se, but just by guys who, you know, they coach a lot, or they coach in a professional setting, but they might not have turned a wheel in a professional race, and they still consider themselves professional race car drivers. And that is bothersome, especially as somebody that's like really worked really hard to be where I am now, and to be able to say, yeah, like I have been paid to race before. And so for me, it's gone back and forth a whole bunch. So I left school when I was 22 to try and do this as a career. I was 27 before I ever actually raced a professional race. So there's 5 years in there where, you know, I was working for an indoor kart track here in Atlanta, and I was building go-karts, and I was a mechanic and that kind of stuff. And then I got a gig with Skip Barber, and that was kind of the side job to my actual job. And but from there, I don't know how, but I got an interview with Porsche, with the Porsche Track Experience, which is over at Barber, the actual racing school at Barber.
Yeah.
And so that was 2014. And for some reason, they liked me and they kept me, and that kind of really got the ball rolling for me. And after that, the Experience Center opened up here in Atlanta. And so being from Atlanta, it seemed like a good job to work for Porsche here at my home. And so I did that for about a year and a half, and then went back to the racing school. So in between that time, when 2016 came around and I started racing professionally, I was still coaching. At that time, I was still coaching at the Experience Center here in Atlanta. So, you know, I was a full-time guy working Tuesday through Friday, essentially. And then fortunately, the guys would let me go race, you know, once a month in World Challenge. And then I'd be right back in the office, basically on Monday or Tuesday morning. And then from there, when I left the Experience Center, that's kind of when it became an actual career for me as a coach. So I was on my own at that point. And I went back to the Porsche Racing School at Barber, and I became a contractor essentially, and just started scavenging to try and find coaching gigs and that kind of thing and support myself. And 2017 was when I had the MX5 Cup ride. So I was really, I was taken care of as far as the professional racing went for that year. And so it was a lot of training, and it was just going racing, which was really cool. And every now and then I would get to go and coach and make a little bit of money. So that was a really cool, year for me. And then we turn around to 2018 and I got nothing. I mean, it was bone dry. The coaching was going great. I had a lot of clients and I had a lot of different manufacturers and stuff I was working for, but I was not racing at all. I mean, I would do, and not at all, but I would do like WRL, and I'd do some Champ Car and have some fun, but there was no pro stuff going on at all. I ran Petit Le Mans on my own dime, essentially, at the end of the year. And I got this killer deal to run a TCR car. And I went all in, cleared out my bank account, and went and did it. And looking back on it, I would not encourage that.
As amateur racers, we know nothing about financial irresponsibility in pursuit of our hobby.
Yeah. Sure. Not at all.
Can you give because you say you brought you emptied out your bank accounts quote for the race. What kind of league are we talking about for that kind of money? What kind of you said you went to Petit Le Mans on your own dime? Is that how many digits are we talking?
Yeah. So I mean, I can give you a rough estimate of the numbers. So you got two guys for this team. This was a decent team. The cars had potential. The team was still really small. Go figure. Where I come from. So the team was still really small. And it was around 35 to 40K to do the race weekend. Now that's split between a couple guys, and I worked a deal and I had a couple sponsors, but it was still mainly on my own dime. And this was my home race, so I really wanted to show out and have a good time. And so I went crazy. I bought a brand new paint job. I got a brand new suit, new gloves, new shoes. I mean, I went crazy. So it wasn't the smartest decision, but I showed really well in the race, and I can't say it's helped yet, but let's see.
And how much time? Sorry, let me get this one in too, because it's about the finances. Like you said, you had a couple of sponsors here and there. They are following you. They are choosing to support you, but then you still need to get permission or to use that money for that race, right? Sure.
Yeah. So the guys that sponsor me are local guys to Atlanta that have known me for a really long time.
Feel free to give them a plug. We don't charge here.
Yeah, so Gran Turismo East over in Chambly.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really cool. My dad actually was best friends with Harris Connor, who started Gran Turismo back in the 70s, and Kieran O'Brien, who runs the operation now, and Jeff Mills are two of the closest family friends that we have. And so Kieran has always been a really, really big supporter of me coming up, through racing and everything. So those guys are really.
That is a karting facility. Those of us who are not
it's a tire and alignment shop.
Okay.
Yeah, so they it's crazy because back in the 80s, man, like whenever there was an SCCA weekend in the 80s, that place was just slammed with race cars. It was super cool, and they're very transparent and just a really, really good group of guys.
That was the place to get your race car done back in the day.
Yeah. So you have a prior relationship with them. Your rides have dried up. You decide that you're going to go all in on Petit Le Mans.
Yeah, and I want to know, I mean, without selling out the team, because you want to paint them in a favorable light, what kind of car? I mean, we've all driven Road Atlanta, and we've done it in slow cars. We've done it in not as slow cars.
Yeah. So this was a Volkswagen GTI TCR car, and these are. People think about them, they're like, oh, it's a front-wheel drive car. It can't be that great. We were doing...
Yeah, Chris, it's a front-wheel drive car. It can't be that great.
I think...
We're showing your Honda Challenge tattoo on your ass.
I think pole time was like, in TCR for that year, pole time was like a high 129 or 130 flat for Atlanta. So, I mean, it's moving. Yeah, so it was even though it was TCR and it was kind of the middle rung, you had GS and then you had TCR and then ST at that time. It was a big boy car and it costs a lot of money to run one of those cars. So but it was a good time. It was Volkswagen GTI. It's a good car.
So you approach your sponsor and say like, I need X amount of cash. You tell your friend because you were in charge of putting the team together, I assume.
So the team was already together. It was mainly it was a family-run team. They had run all season with one car, but they had this backup car essentially that was available. So we put this deal together, and they said, here's how much it's going to cost you. And I said, okay. And I said, I had another driver, a gentleman driver, who was bringing most of the money that we needed, and but I still had to find a little bit. And so basically, I went to Kieran at Gran Turismo East and I said, hey man, here's what I got and what can you do for me? And he said, absolutely. I said, here you go. So
yeah, that's great support.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. Those guys were great.
I know this just from, I don't know this. I think a lot of our listeners probably don't know this either, but the percentage of effort for a professional driver to drive is not the 100% success of a team or to actually keep you on the track. So cultivating these relationships and everything is tremendously important. Knowing what rides to take and what rides not to take. I mean, you already mentioned that you probably wouldn't go back in that Cooper again. So I just wanted to make sure. There any other thoughts on, like trying to manage that burgeoning career that maybe most of our listeners haven't thought of?
Yeah. So we kind of, you look at things that you shouldn't have done and should have done. And I think the number one thing for me personally is that I was never really aggressive with follow-ups with people that I would meet. And I was never really aggressive with, approaching companies and saying, this is what I got. What do you think? Because I was always afraid of being told no. And so, I didn't want to look like an idiot. And so going back.
Really should have come on this podcast.
So going back, being aggressive with follow-ups and making sure I'm talking to the people that I just met, every other week or sending out emails or whatever it is, building that relationship with people and that network, I was not very good at. And so looking back, I would have done that.
Networking. No one likes to actually network, but everybody says once you do it, that's the thing.
Network's my job.
I'm not really surprised by that, but there's plenty of people that even if you don't feel like you're bad at it. Like I'm pretty good at carrying conversation with most people, but it's still difficult to do. And it takes time and effort. And I think, and I'm sure if it's your job, it's easy to just be like, well, they'll call me or something. But
that's why when we need a tool or a part of the track, I say, Jeff, go find me a blah, blah, blah. And
okay. I'll be back.
Yeah, right. Almost invariably, he comes back, and he also made a friend or four while gone, and did some coaching, and yeah.
And he usually comes back with a plate of food.
Yeah, that too.
True.
Or someone that we need to bring food to, also possible. Mental.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and so Patrick, we were talking over the Instagram, and then we got on the phone over this weekend. But one of the things that is a lot of folks, and I know that Chris, you've got a question related to this, but we've talked about this sitting at the track. It's not football or basketball where if you're the top dog, you're automatically going to get that contract. I mean, being supremely talented is step one, and everybody at the professional level everybody that is burgeoning out, there is a given level of talent. And so I remember when I first graduated racing school, my buddy says, oh, so you're going to do this or do this? I'm like, oh, that's not really how racing works. He goes, yeah, I'm sure that's what Jeff Gordon said. I'm like, yeah, except Jeff Gordon's parents moved to Indiana when he was 8 years old so he could be more competitive. My dad didn't like it when I popped the hood on my car. So there is an aspect to it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to toot my own horn. I have the lap time is there for me to run at the top of every series that I've been in. A lot of it comes down to the money aspect. You got to find the cash first to go race, and then equipment. If you got the money, then the equipment will be there. So that's kind of been the downfall of my career, I guess, is that I don't have the money, so I don't have the equipment, so it doesn't make me look good because I show up and, when I was racing SCCA, we raced against a guy who was like a 7-time national champ in American sedan when we were running the Mustang, and literally his shock package cost more than our car. And so it's one of those things, you show up, we're on a shoestring budget, we're borrowing tires from this guy. And so I can't be expected to go out and run with this incredible car, even though I feel like as a driver, I was much better than him. And the same thing is in pro racing. There's 70 to 80% of the guys that are running professionally are paying to be there. Right. So, there's a small percentage of guys that are either running for free or they are actually making money. So, that's why I was saying that the professional driver name is kind of tarnished, because most of the guys there are not true professional race car drivers.
What is? Go ahead, Chris.
I would say I was leading to my question of, I think you most more or less answered it, is what's the struggle that the average amateur racer has no idea really about, and I think you're getting to it right there. So.
Yeah. Well, I can put it this way, you know, watching kids that I coached when I was a kid, when I was, 18, 19, 20 years old, watching those kids now, just because their parents have a lot of money, watching them actually have a professional racing career and they're on track and they're at, there's ones at Daytona racing this weekend and that I've coached in karts. And it's like, okay, hold on. You're telling me I just spent 10 years of my life dedicating every day of my life to this just for a 17-year-old kid to have some money and he's going to go and do exactly what I can't do. I mean, it's heartbreaking. And I tell everybody this is the most wonderful, awful, terrible, most beautiful sport there is in the world, because you have literally the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And some people a lot of guys don't have any idea what kind of back work has to be done, not at the track.
He sounds like you at Thompson, Chris.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
I think the difference is that we all have this as a part-time love. We can dedicate every single thing we do to it, but there's still food on our table. And I think that's, making the leap. And you said you did it when you were like 20, what? No, 20.
I was 27. Yeah.
27. That you say, okay, I'm going to give up that actual paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was tough, but it was time though. I felt I had the momentum, with racing at that time. And I had the momentum with the, with the 2017 season and MX5 Cup. And I was like, I showed pretty well. We had some bad races with mechanicals, but people saw me. I was like, I was up front. I was like, something will happen. And then nothing happened. So,
we see those talent scouts, those IMSA scouts all the time at Lemons races.
Penske is in the woods at like every.
That's right.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So,
if you're good, they'll find you.
Yeah. So I made the leap, and fortunately, with coaching, coaching worked out, and I enjoy coaching. It's fun. It's a real pleasure working with people that actually want to learn and that can grasp what I'm saying and actually go apply it. That's extremely rewarding. So I made the leap. Professional driving coach is what I consider myself, and I make a good, decent living at doing it. So, if a pro ride comes around, then great, I'll take it.
So what are the most of the coaching you do these days? Is it karts? Is it sports cars? Is it open wheels? Is it everything? Whoever needs it, you're there? Because, hey, that's how most of us would be, I'd imagine, right? Yeah.
Sure, yeah, all of the above. So, excuse my French, but I'm a big whore. I mean, that's all I am. So, people,
that's the worst thing that's ever been said here.
So I could go from coaching a karting school at AMP to working a Porsche event, over at Barber the very next day, to working with private clients in their own racing cars. It depends on what the need is. The fortunate thing is that there is a big need out there, and so I get calls pretty often to go work. So
you just traveled with Porsche. You did like a whole nationwide tour, didn't you?
Man, last year I spent a whole month in Utah doing the launch for the new 911. So it was cool. It is draining. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that was a 25 day work month, of 13-hour days. The paycheck's great, but and you get to drive some cool stuff, but it's a long, long day doing that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. What percentage are you private versus, would you say, group or corporate?
Private right now is, well, it's January, so it changes as the season goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that goes for group and private, but mainly right now, working for big schools is the majority versus the actual private coaching that's going on right now. So come like springtime, April, around then, it's going to start to even back out to 50-50 or so. And
feel free to pimp the name on your shirt there, because I still think that's a fantastic organization.
Yeah. So Primal Racing School out of AMP at Atlanta Motorsports Park. It was really neat. We started this school ground up back in 2018, and it was incredible because it's me and Tyler Hoffman and Trevor Andrusko are kind of the three main guys, and then Adrian Dewey is the guy who runs the whole program, who's the CEO of it, and he literally entrusted us, with building this curriculum, and we have Radical race cars as our school cars. And
that's not an 80s term, listeners. That's an actual brand.
yeah. Radical sports cars out of the UK. So, and they're awesome. We use little SR1 Radicals. They're 175 horsepower, but they only weigh 1,000 pounds. So the power to weight
arrow. It's
yeah. So they're awesome. It's visceral.
Yeah, we once didn't let a guy arrive and drive with us because as a resume he sent us his Radical lap at what track was it? It was one of the.
I think it was Summit, Maine, but
I think it was Summit, Maine. He sent us Summit, Maine. He says, "Well, this is how I drive, so hopefully it'll be good with your team." And we're like, "No, you're not for us. You're going to be driving."
Was it a video of him?
A video, yeah. He sent us a video.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And
the
car we were going to be racing was a Sea Sprite boat on an S10. Yeah. So
very relatable. Very relatable.
I missed the boat so much.
We ended up bringing in the guy who sent us a resume that included Rockfords and smelled like weed. So we're like, that's more our guy.
Who daily drove a Peugeot.
Yeah.
Wow. He's going to fit right in.
Absolutely. I already know who they're talking about. Now, I'll say with the Radical School, because I got to do a little bit of work out there early last year when I was between positions, and Tyler and Trevor had pity on me. And also one of the...
Check off. Dog's barking.
Yeah,
check it off.
One of the Hong brothers is one of the initial investors in that one, and it is actually it's the curriculum you guys put together is fantastic. And if any of our listeners, if you've done some track day stuff and you want to kind of get that next level education, Primal it's a great track and it's a great school, and those cars are so friggin' cool, and they're going to put you faster than you thought you could go, but they're not going to be dangerous to do it. It's going to be safe the whole time.
Wow, awesome. So I do want to talk a little bit about private coaching. Does anybody want to ask a specific question before we get into private coaching?
I'm just interested to know more about how do you do it? Like, or how does one do that? How do you find a coach? What do you get out of it? What does a time with a coach look like? Like, it's at this point, for example, I've been doing this for a long time. I've done 50-something Lemons races, and I'm a NASA instructor, and I'm kind of plateaued. So, like, a private coach probably would help me out a bit to find a time that I don't even know.
Skippy school 100 years ago, right?
Right. So, but just as an example, but I'm sure there's other people too who feel like they need some coaching, but an HPD environment isn't necessarily the right place for them. What do we do?
Yeah. So there's coaches everywhere, and literally any professional driver or in a professional setting, any driver that's in a professional racing setting, if you contact them in any way, they're going to be like, yeah, I'll coach you immediately. So there's an abundance of people that's just taking the leap and saying, hey, I need your help. Now, I work for, I do work for another company, contract with another company called Track Record. And it's put on by a guy named Andy Lee, who did a whole bunch of World Challenge races. And they've got a whole website of true professional drivers that you can go in and say, okay, I'm in the Atlanta area. I'll find a coach that's in the Atlanta area. And you can click on Atlanta or Georgia and find the guys that are within that vicinity. And I'll be one of the guys. And it says, hey, if you like his resume, if you like my resume, then you send me an email and say, hey, I need some help. And I go and coach you. So
that sounds like a great service, because I wouldn't know, I've never met you. Obviously, I don't know whether you're legit or not legit. So having some kind of organization that you can trust, say, this is a real coach.
Sure. Yeah. So a good point to what you're saying there is a huge difference between the track day coach at an HPD event and an actual professional race car driver. The amount of information and the benefit that you're going to get from an actual true coach who does this all the time is going to be drastic compared to the guy that's doing this to get free track time. And so that's no offense. I hope that doesn't offend any.
No,
He
that's what it
lies.
is.
He'll give up a track session to make sure that his student does it right.
Yeah.
So-
No, but honestly, we talk a lot about all the different levels of education here. You know, I don't expect our guest to be a listener, although you said you listen sometimes. We talk about from the very beginning. Like, if you've never been on a track before, HPDE is the place to start.
Sure.
But
Sure, yeah.
nothing beats instruction constantly.
Yeah, so I look at it like this. You know, everybody plateaus, and Chris, you mentioned earlier that you've reached a plateau. That's when you need a coach. You know, you kind of you flatten out, and it's like, man, my lap times aren't getting any better, or I'm having trouble passing people and working on racecraft and that kind of thing. And that's when you need somebody. So whenever you plateau, that's when you pick up a coach, and then he'll grow you to the next level. So what I tell everybody is that there's kind of a motto that I use is that, I'm working my way out of a job, essentially. So I am going to be completely confidential with what we discuss, and, your lap times and what you're paying me and all that kind of stuff. But essentially, I'm trying to work my way out of a job to where you don't need me anymore, right? To where you're good enough to where, you continue on and grow. And so, that's kind of how I look at it. And hopefully a lot of people look at it that way, but, and hopefully a lot of people don't look at it as I think a lot of people look at it as a money stream. They're like, well, I'll teach this guy some stuff. I'm not going to tell him all my secrets so that he still needs me, kind of thing. And I don't feel like that's the right way to go about it.
If you can teach all of your stuff in like a 3-day period, you don't have enough stuff.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's very true. And something like the Primal Racing School that we put on is a good spot to be overwhelmed with information. So there's multiple professional coaches that are there, and we're all trying to tell you something for 3 days, and you are wiped out by the end of it. So, and just mentally and physically.
My one thought, as Jeff just said, that if you taught for 3 days, then you don't have enough stuff. But thinking of being on the other side of needing coaching and having somebody to coach you, it's also you're busy as a coach, but as a student, you also have to perform and practice all of the things that the instructor is trying to tell you. So it's not only like you got a lot of stuff to say, but I'm just picturing it from the other's point of view of like, you got a lot of stuff to do, right? As a driver, I need to pick up all these things that you're saying and try to practice them and figure out how to implement them. And that takes a lot in 3 days too.
Yeah.
Especially if you've been doing this long enough that you have bad habits to break. You're not just going to crack out of those.
So that's what I'm glad you brought that up too, because that's kind of where I wanted to get back to as well. Was we're talking about HPDE coaches and then and professional coaches, and you can start with the HPDE guy and move on to the professional. The problem with that is the bad habits that are going to be gained at the beginning of that cycle, right? So the high performance guy might not notice some of the small things that are happening inside the car that a pro might notice. And so you build this habit over, let's say, a year, and then you go get a pro and you've got a day with him to break some crappy stuff that you could have broken in the beginning. And I'm not trying to put down HPDE guys at all. I mean, but it's one of those things that I feel like if you have the will and the money to get somebody that's a pro, go that direction, because you're going to get more benefit of that now than you are later in your career when you've built these bad habits. And I think the thing that drives me insane the most is people throwing money at a car trying to go faster. They buy their Corvette and they're like, I got 400 horsepower, but I need 700. That's going to get me, that's going to get me my 129 at Road Atlanta. Well, that's crap, because if I can give you a second, just in my coaching, well, then you've got that second forever. And then you can go get your engine, right? And then you've got another second. So now really I've gained you like 2 seconds. So the thing is that I tell people, I don't go out and buy brand new golf clubs thinking it's going to make me shoot in the 60s, right? So you shouldn't think that 100 more horsepower is going to make you a better driver, right? If that makes sense.
No. Yeah, totally. We talk all the time about how much how much I learned differently in an HPDE in my NA Miata versus the same track in my race car.
Or the lady with the Corvette on Hoosiers with caged and arrow in HPD 2, because that's going to be good.
But removing
I think
all
I know
of
what you're
those,
talking about.
I'm sure you've met her or 1,000 people like her. But removing those other things, like having a motor, like having giant brakes that can get you out of a situation that you shouldn't have been in, are crutches.
Sure, and that's exactly what it is. It gives you a false hope, that you're better than what you actually are. And I would rather break your heart really early and tell you that you're crap right off the beginning than you spend a whole bunch of money on something that you don't need.
But I need those motons.
I've heard that before.
Yeah. So this is very interesting. Like when you do professional coaching, the individual coaching, I should say, what is usually the terms? Like 1 day, 2 day. What kind of track days are you doing? Are you also on a rented track? Do you do it at events?
Where to do it is tough, because you can't just like, hey, New Jersey, I'm just going to rent you for the day just for me.
Sure.
Most people, it's not a thing. Like,
the whole state, not a track. New Jersey's available cheap though.
Well, because it sucks. So, yeah.
So a lot of it is done during track days that are already going on. So Chin events or Just Track It or MVP, something like that. So the thing is that most guys that are putting on track day events, let's say it's a Chin event, most of those guys are going to know the pros that are local, to the area. And they usually give us a pass on having to pay to drive or get a wristband, that kind of thing. And so, literally the client is just, they're buying their track day, but instead of using one of their coaches, they buy us as well on the side. And it's us. That's the way it usually works. I've never had anybody rent a track just for me and them. That would be awesome though.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So what do? You get called, let's say, you get called tomorrow. There's a track day in March. What are you doing before you get to the track to meet, know, or coach that person? Or are you waiting till you get there?
No, usually, we need to build a rapport together. And so the first thing is I got to know a background on what you've been doing and how long you've been doing it, what you're driving. And I like to get video before I actually show up, just so I can have some talking points right off the bat to try and work with. And then from there, then we can start, working on whatever we're going to work on when we're there, the stuff that the meat of the situation when we're at the track. So there is a little bit of work before we actually get there to learn about the driver.
Cool.
Is that a good answer?
No.
So it's not just a, hey, come make me better. You're doing all the homework beforehand. It's a same thing if you hired a personal trainer. Okay, I'm going to want to know, give me your food diary. What do you eat in a personal day? What are your ultimate goals for this training session? And, what's your current weight and your capabilities? It makes sense. If you're going to hire a pro to do that, you'd want a pro to do the same thing driving.
So after the podcast, Mental, call me and ask me all those questions.
Yeah, it for the kind of money that people spend on a professional coach, then there should be some kind of professionalism that goes into it, and the guys should take it seriously. I think, a lot of guys think that it is just showing up and coaching somebody for a day and getting a check and going home. But, if you're actually trying to make somebody better, then you need to do your homework on the front end and then do your follow-up on the back end too.
What kind of follow-up? Like, do I have your number? Can I text you next time I'm at a race? And, hey, remind me again.
Yeah. So I tell everybody that I work with, if you have a question or there's something that, a clip of a video that you want to look at, just shoot it to me, and I'll tell you what I see. And the most recent was a guy that was trying to race at the runoffs, the SCCA runoffs, and we worked together at VIR in March of last year, I want to say, and he did just that. He was having some trouble and sent me a video, and I told him what I saw, and he went out and did his thing. So I think, I don't think the coaching day ends when the day ends. I think, it ends when you complete your job and make them a better driver.
Awesome.
Call him out. I've followed him on his social media, and there's post of, hey, I'm here at Road Atlanta with a couple of clients running BMW CCA, or hey, I'm at this track or I'm at that track, where you've just shown up as moral and probably some sort of unintentional trackside logistics support for your clients.
Yeah, I anything that's local, I try and get to, and that's something that I fell off of a little ways through the professional career and that kind of thing, because I thought I had made it, in 2010. I'm there, so everything's going to keep rolling. So I quit doing that. I quit going to the track days, and I quit going to the amateur races and that kind of thing. And that, I think that really hurt me, because I wasn't continuing that network, and I wasn't showing support for people that knew me and people that wanted to use me and that kind of thing. And so yeah, I think when you go to these events and show your face and give a little, like you see a guy go through turn 6 at A&P, and it's like, hey, that guy turned in early, I know him, I'm going to go tell him. And if you already have that, relationship with him, you can walk up and say, hey, you could probably do this better. Then that's just only going to make him better. It's going to make the relationship better, and it's going to make him want to use you later, down the road. I don't know if you should necessarily walk up to a random guy that you don't know and say, hey, you're really screwing up turn 6.
That explains that fight at the last race I was at. Okay, that's way
Chrissy. What was the name of that professional racer that you sat there and talked about Laguna for like 20 minutes in the map? What was his name? The guy who did the drift.
You have the picture.
Was it Ross?
Can see it.
Oh. Was it Ross? Or it was no, somebody that Kathy had brought in.
He's an English guy. No, he's a German guy.
Johann Schwartz.
Johann.
That's right.
Hey, Johann's the man. So
he is the man.
So he holds the record for the longest drift.
Yes. That's what he's holding.
I have a sign.
Yeah. There you go. So Johann's really cool. So he was the original owner of EnduranceKarting.com. So he started endurance karting in the States here years ago, and that was kind of when I came out of the indoor karting league that I was in, that was my next step, was Johann Schwartz endurance karting, and this relationship with him. And now, he's killing it now. He's got rides all over the world in BMW. And he was one of the winningest drivers last year in a BMW product. It's really cool. He's a great guy.
Yeah, and he is so humble, though, right? So that's what you were saying. I was just trying to talk to him about the track, and just kind of like, he's like, I don't know. He's like, I'm like, what do you do? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So part of our prep is Chrissy hand draws track maps to learn a new track. So every time we go to a new track, she has
your computer around, Chris?
She has a poster size track map that she has hand drawn.
And there's one on the floor over there, and there's one at the side. There's Watkins, that's Pitt keeps falling down.
Then we
Watkins
make her
is over
walk
there.
us through the track so that we can learn the track.
So after testing at Laguna, our first time ever there, Chris and I are furiously wrenching / trying to stay awake because we're on the wrong
time
coast, the time zone. And Chrissy spends 20 or 30 minutes talking to this weird guy about the track, and
that's awesome.
She says, "So what do you do?" And then he says, "Oh,
I think he started with asking me, like, what track do you like? What tracks do you like?" And
he
then
totally played you, like, tell me about this track. I don't know anything about it.
And then I'm like, "Oh, who are you? Let's talk to you." And then I'm like,
what was so cool was I did this 6-hour race at Charlotte, endurance karting race. And it came down to, and I didn't really know Johann that well at this time, but this kind of gave me the thought that he is super passionate about what he's doing. Was it came down to me and one other guy for the end of this 6-hour race, and we literally were nose to tail. And for the last 10 minutes of this race, Johann took the microphone and was just commentating the race between me and this guy the whole time around Charlotte. And it was so cool. I didn't know at the time. My parents would tell me about it later after the race, but it was awesome because I'd never seen him do that before. And he just rips the microphone away and starts doing a full commentary on what was going on. It was awesome. And from then on, I was like, man, this guy's pretty cool. So
that is cool.
It was a good time.
Awesome.
Before we get into my goofy personal questions, does anybody have any actual coaching or driving questions? And silence is consent. So
I mean, like, yeah, but
Yeah, I don't
Like,
know where to
go. Then
go.
ask
Not right
the
now
question.
in 2 minutes.
I'm actually interested in the nacho story, so I want to hear it.
Okay, so to endear you to our readers more, and I know this story, but I think it's a great story. Please tell. And there's a picture on your Instagram, and I remember Alyssa went all crazy about it, and Sharon went all crazy about it. But here's a picture of Patrick, and he's very fit. He takes care of himself to be a race car driver, and he's at the paddock at Atlanta Motorsports Park, and he's got the driver suit tied around the waist, and he's walking down looking every bit like the pro driver. And at the end of this leash is a tiny, old Chihuahua. So tell people the story of Nacho, who is the world's second greatest Chihuahua.
So everybody that doesn't know Nacho loves Nacho, and everybody who knows Nacho hates Nacho. So
Sounds like every Chihuahua I've ever met.
So Nacho's my dude. That's all I always call him. He's my dude. And I never, let me preface this with, I never in 100 years ever thought that I would own a rat as a pet, but he's awesome. So in 2000, I think it was 16, my girlfriend at the time was really big into rescuing animals. And so she had 3 dogs of her own and 1 cat. And we were living together at the time, and I really wanted a puppy. And so we went out to one of the humane societies. We're looking around. I don't really see anything. There's a quarantine section that nobody's supposed to go into, and she just goes right into it. And here's this Chihuahua that's in the back of a cage, and he is mean as hell. As soon as you look at him, he's growling. And I mean, he looks petrified. It was really, really sad, but he looks petrified. So anyway, she's like, my friend has a Chihuahua rescue. Let's adopt him, and he'll be gone in 2 weeks to the rescue. And I'm like, man, I don't want this Chihuahua. Like, are you kidding me? And so, lo and behold, we adopt the damn Chihuahua. And
yes, that's shot. I love that picture.
So.
Can I see it again? You put it way too fast.
I'm zooming in on the dog. Keep talking.
Oh.
So we go to. We end up back at home with this Chihuahua, and we get to the house, and literally you got to put him in a damn blanket just so he won't bite you. And so he loves her, he hates me, and I hate him. And I can't wait for 2 weeks to go by until this little bastard's gone. And so fast forward maybe like 2 days, and I'm up early, I'm getting ready for work, I'm in the closet getting dressed. And this little rat comes walking in, and he's wagging his tail, and he's starting to lick my legs and stuff. And I'm like, don't get attached. I'm like, you're gone for 2 weeks. And he was like really messed up too when we got him. Like his right eye looked like a cataract, but it wasn't. It was all hazy. His rear legs like hardly worked. I mean, he was almost dragging his rear legs around. I mean, he was pitiful. And I was like, I don't want this dog. And so fast forward a week. And I'm laid out on the lazy boy watching racing or whatever it is, and he's asleep on my chest, that kind of thing. And I'm like, this damn dog. Like, I don't want him. I don't need him. And 2 weeks is up. She's like, okay, I'm going to take him to the rescue tomorrow. And I'm like, well, why don't we just keep him? I was like, he's all right. He's fine. And I think it was that day we came to terms with that if we broke up, Nacho was coming with me. And we ended up breaking up, and I was like, hey, you know the deal. I was like, that dog's mine. And so here we are 2 years later, and he's still just as ornery as he was when I first met him.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that bodes well or not well for the future of my life, because I've been told by my wife of almost 20 years now that if we break up, I get all of the shitty cars and all of the stupid dogs and all of the crap in the basement, everything. No.
Depends on how much you like that stuff.
We do have a lot of cars.
He's lying. He loves the cars. He loves the dogs.
Yeah. So does she. That's the lie. The true lie. So this is awesome. I am going to make sure to get Track Record and Primal Race School in our podcast links so that people can find them directly. But are there any events coming up that you want to pimp? Are there any social media things you want to talk about? Like, now's the time to do your commercial.
Doing the 24 Orlando again?
Yeah. So this is second year in a row. Myself and now 4 other guys. It was 3 other guys. We partnered with Racing for Children's, and they're a group. You might have seen their race car in GT3 Cup. Their driver just won the GT3 Cup this last season. But Racing for Children's is a team that basically supports Children's Hospital of Alabama, which is a cancer research hospital. And so we got this killer sponsorship deal last year with these guys, and they sponsored us to do the 24-hour Simcraft 24-hour of Orlando. And we came back for year 2. We raised just over $3,000 last year. We're already on track to raise over $4,000 for this year, and so hopefully we get to do some more racing with them and raise some more money for the hospital. So that has been absolutely incredible. We had DCT Speed Sport here in Atlanta that supported us with the tuner. They gave us our chassis, all that kind of stuff. So the support from that has been incredible. That's coming up at the end of this month, and then honestly, the LMP3 ride that I have going on, I am completely on the back burner on that. It's being taken care of between the company and my guy that's putting it all together. I'm just waiting to hear when we go race. And other than that, I'm trying to go back to Champ Car. Honestly, we got Champ Car coming up at Road Atlanta in a couple weeks, and I've already spoken to 2 or 3 teams that want me to drive. So hopefully over 14 hours, I'll get to do a couple stints. So that should be cool.
Nice. Any specific social media you want to pimp? Where can they find the dog? That's what everybody wants to know.
Yeah, I'm everywhere. So on Instagram, it's Wilmot Racing. I'm on Twitter. I don't use Twitter too much, but again, it's Wilmot Racing there. And my website is patrickwilmot.com. And you can pretty much find everything on social media or on Instagram specifically through #FeedPatrick. And that's kind of the thing that I use to post everything. And on my Instagram is where you'll find all the nacho stories.
Great. Chrissy wasn't here for the beginning, so Mental, why don't you bring us to the... Is it just a tip or is it on the spot? Have we decided?
It's just the tip on the spot.
It's just a tip on the spot. All right.
So, Patrick, you've got a ton of coaching experience.
Oh no!
It's internet.
Tip to all of our listeners.
Hold on.
It's all right. You're back.
Start over again.
Start over.
So,
Wait, don't.
You do a lot of coaching, and we tried to give everyone a safety tip. What's the biggest safety thing besides people driving in Atlanta in storms with their hazards on that at a racetrack really bothers you, that you see people doing a lot, or even just some of your clients?
Yeah. So I had time to think about this. So 2 things. One is missing flags. That's probably the number one thing. They go out and they completely miss the corner stations. And so I'm a big advocate for, going out the first session and find your corner stations, because they can save your life one day. And then really the second thing, I've lost my train of thought here.
Corner stations are great.
Point buys. So point buys, I had a really interesting thing start happening lately where people feel the need to get out of the way of the car behind them. And that drives me insane, because that's not the way it is. The blue flag doesn't mean for you to move. It means you got to slow a car behind you and let them pass you. So the thing is that I had a guy recently that was coming out of turn 12 at Road Atlanta, and when there was a car behind him, he would just whip the car to the right side of the track out of turn 12 and point him by on the left. And I'm yelling through the communicator, don't, just stay here, because I am literally just waiting for us to be a little wide and drop the left rear or something like that, and we're going to hook into that concrete wall. And so, I really want to express for people to find their flags, find their corner stations, and don't worry about the car behind you. Get on the straightaway, point them by where it's safe, and that's that. if you're in a 700 horsepower car and a Miata is about to pass you, just lift. I mean, I know the pride hurts, but let them go because they're going to eat you up in the next corner anyway. So
he caught up to you, so he's doing something right.
Yeah, you probably barely have to lift, just a little, and they're gone.
Little crack. So I think those two things are what I see most often.
That's great. We have friends of the podcast who are learning how to race, and one of them destroyed a lovely Spider Mustang. And what happened is that she got lost in her mirrors and got Malachi crunched by moving to where they didn't expect her to be. Yeah. She thought she was getting out of the way. Turns out she was getting in someone else's way that she didn't realize was there. At a Lemons race, I don't know if you said you done champ on how much Lemons experience you got, but 125 cars on a track. There are not places to simply whip off of the racing line.
Sure.
At any moment.
People say it all the time, when you're at a track day event, but be predictable. That's the number one thing. And for me, I'm used to, especially at champ car races, I'm used to being in or even WRL, one of the faster cars, one of the GTO cars or one of the, I think it's, what is it, Group A, Class A? Is that, or Class D? Is that the fast cars in Champ Car?
I think, they have the exception class in Champ Car, and then they're
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm used to driving those cars, and the thing is that I've already decided where I'm going to pass you, usually 2 corners before I get to you. And so if you do something that I don't expect, and I've already committed to it, it's going to be a bad day for both of us, and it's not going to be my fault. I'm just going to be really pissed. So be predictable is the number one thing.
Watch your flags. Don't go offline. Be predictable.
There you go.
You heard it here first. We'll also get Track Record Primal Race School, your Instagram up on there. Any other things to plug before we go to the final part of the show?
Just www.racingforchildrens.org. That's where you can donate to the cause here for our race coming up. Would be much appreciated. 100% of the proceeds go to the hospital, so we don't take any of that. And it would be awesome if we could raise that money a little bit this year, so we can come back next year and do it again.
It's for kids, people who have cancer.
It's for the kids.
That's right.
Hamsa.
Anyway, anybody know what we're doing next week?
No.
It'll be the pre-barber show.
We have a pre-barber show? Who's going to barber?
Mental. And that.
That's a show. Thanks for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We'll hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building, because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Then go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. Even if you hate us, give us 5 stars and tell us why. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram or Twitter at everyone.racers. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the shiny side up. Unless there is no shiny side, then just keep the wheels down.